Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Space Engine. Let's actually move my microphone a bit closer to me so it's more away from the keyboard. We'll go with that, sure. My desk is an absolute mess. I need to fix that at some point. And just generally need to clean up more. Oy, so much stuff in my room, it's kind of unnecessary. Like my desk, yeah, I have everything on it. I have my computer, I have project stuff over there. I have a whole bunch of like medication stuff right there. Well, I say that it's more just like what it's like Advil, uh, antihistamines, just day-to-day stuff. I keep everything nearby just in case. And my desk is an absolute mess. But anyways, we are in space, hundreds of light years away from my desk. So, what are we gonna do? I don't have any recommendations of topics or places to go, so we're just kind of gonna go get lost somewhere. Is that a cluster over there? Oh, it is a cluster. There's the Magellanic Clouds. They're pretty cool. My goodness, it is very warm here right now. Like, when I was a kid, back in the day, we would have, a few days every year where the temperature would get above 30 degrees Celsius, which I don't know how hot that is in Fahrenheit. It's hot though. It's unnecessarily hot. And it always sucked, but it was like a few days and then boom, temperature usually stayed around 25 degrees or lower in the summertime. But nowadays it's just like every summer we just get more and more days where it's just over the 30 mark and into the 40s. I wonder why. And it sucks, man. It really does suck. Like, this has actually been the coolest summer in, well, actually quite a long time, since like what, 10 years ago. And it's because it's a La Nina system. So like, it was cool this fall. It was below seasonal temperatures, but now it's just rocketed back up to above seasonal temperatures. So it's like, even with a La Nina year, like, we're getting hit by high temperatures. Europe is melting. The UK is melting. They actually had to close a bunch of their, or like one of their Air Force bases had to like redirect planes because their tarmacs were melting. Which people are always like, well, why don't they use just concrete instead of asphalt? And it's like a couple of reasons. Asphalt is actually much better to use for plane tarmacs because if you need to repair it, it is much easier to repair. Like, you can repair the section quickly, whereas if it's concrete, you basically have to shut down the entire like runway for however long it takes to remove like the section of damaged concrete and then refill it. So, and again, the UK is not used to these kind of temperatures, so they had no reason to not go with asphalt. Unfortunately, things are going very poorly in our atmosphere, so yeah. It's not good at all. Let's take a look here. Alright, we have a mini aquaria with life, organic, unicellular, subglacial, as always. The most common form of life in this game, and I would wager in the actual galaxy in real life, is probably going to be subglacial life. Probably microbial. I mean, microbes in general would almost have to be the most abundant form of life in the universe because microbes are very easy. They're very easy to come about. They're easy to survive. Like, it's just, you would think it's like, even like on Earth during the heavy bombardment periods, it's thought that early life kept getting blasted into orbit and surviving in asteroids and then raining back down on Earth. Reseeding the planet after every major impact. And that's kind of a cool thought, but not a whole lot, like no real way to test that. Man, we're gonna find a whole bunch of life, aren't we? Look at that, more subglacial life. Because, of course, this is a different place, right? Yeah, it is. Okay, good. Excuse me. Oh boy. But yeah, actually, it was kind of funny. Uh, Yesterday I forgot to go get groceries, like just some basic stuff. And normally it's like, it's not a big deal. Like, I I have very set, numbers of clothing or of groceries that I get, and my schedule's pretty tightly controlled. But I forgot to get milk, and that's important because my like food schedule again is very controlled of my own doing, mind you, because there's not a lot I can eat. And I was out of milk, and I was like, oh crap, that's not good. So I had to hop my bike and go down to the 7-Eleven at like 3 in the morning, which was actually very nice. I like being out like at night. It's nice. It was very still, no wind. Wish there was wind because it's warm out, but it was just nice, No one's around. I'm on an e-bike because that's my vehicle is an e-bike, which it's fun to make fun of, but at the same time, everything I need is within like 10 kilometers of my house, like stores, medical things, the hospitals. Just like I can see it from my house, so I don't really need anything much more than a car. Like rather than a bike right now. I'll get a car at some point. I had one years ago, but I couldn't afford to run it, so I stopped. And the e-bike costs almost nothing to run, so it's great. But man, it's just like biking around at night. It's great. I love it. No one's around. Wish it was cooler though. It's way too warm. I don't like warmth. I'm very much a cold weather creature. All right. Yeah, so I had to get milk. Came back, and yeah, that's been the highlight of my evening so far. I mean, I was doing some work, but whatever. Andromeda. I like the Andromeda Galaxy. I've actually seen it a number of times, like through binoculars and telescopes. It's kind of fun. Ooh, the Carina Nebula. Let's go there. What a fun one. I was trying to remember. It's like, is this the one that has the horse? No, I think it's the Crab Nebula that has the horse head thingy in it. Although the Carina looks... No, actually, maybe it is the Carina Nebula that has the horse head structure. I've had this conversation many times before. I always forget. I am not a clever man, but I play one on the internet, so. Oh boy, where are we actually? If that's the Korean Nebula, we're probably near the Orion arm of the galaxy, I would assume. I'm not actually sure how far away this is compared to Sol, but we can see it, so that's something. I actually don't have anything else going on today. Like, I finished the first draft of my book, finally. I usually do 1,000 words a day kind of thing, and I finished it, so I'm just letting it sit for a bit. Then I'm gonna go back for a few days. I'm gonna do a full, like the full reread edit, which is gonna be tons of fun. Well, fun-ish. I can get it done in like 20 days if I do a chapter a day. But yeah, so that's kind of exciting. Oh, actually, I had some fun medical news recently. It's like I've mentioned how I have chronic vertigo and dizziness and tinnitus, and people kept telling me it's all in my head, like doctors and my brother, and just people in general. It's like, oh yeah, it's all just in your head. You need to just calm down. So, anyways, I got a I had a referral to a neurologist, a few weeks ago. Okay, faster. And I went and had the appointment, and they set me up for an MRI because like I had a CT scan earlier this year, but that was mostly like that was because I went to the emergency room, and they just wanted to make sure there weren't any like obvious tumors or lesions, which there wasn't. My brain's fine, but I was given a requisition for an MRI because that's much more detailed, and I was like, excellent, because I've been wanting an MRI for a long ass time. And, I was actually given the opportunity to get one the next day because they had a cancellation, but I didn't have the time to do that. So I had to wait, what was it, 2-3 weeks before I got it? Which was actually pretty good because I wasn't even like what's the term? I was on the the non-urgent list. Like I was just, yeah, I just need an MRI, but nothing crucial. And I only had to wait like 3 weeks, so it's like, cool. And I went and had that done. at the hospital. People there were very nice. It was all well and good. And the next day, the neurologist calls and starts the phone call with, "Do you have time to talk?" And it's funny because it's like when a neurologist or when a specialist calls you after like a test, especially an imaging test, and they preface the conversation with, "Do you have time to talk?" It's like, oh, this could actually be not good, or it could be good. It depends. And yeah, they actually did find something. It turns out it is all in my head, but not psychological. My brain is fine. Like, I don't have any tumors or lesions or aneurysms. My brain is in perfect health. But what was found is apparently on my right side, the nerve that sends signals from your inner ear structures into your brain, the cochlear vestibular nerve. Mine apparently is very close to a blood vessel, or I should say the blood vessel is too close to it, more so than it normally should be, and it's apparently it might be causing like compression and irritation of the nerve, which would explain the tinnitus and random crippling vertigo and dizziness and all of that. And I was really happy to hear this because it's like, oh, that's fantastic. Which really confused the neurologist because normally it's like, yeah, there's a defect in your brain. Why are you happy about this? And it's like, because I've been telling people for years, like 10 years or so, 5, 10 years. It's been a long time that I have just chronic, really loud tinnitus and I'm dizzy all the time and I have vertigo attacks. And everyone just goes, oh, it's just your anxiety, and have never like looked further. And then I get one MRI and they're like, oh yeah, it looks like you have your vestibular nerve might be getting compressed by a blood vessel, causing all these symptoms. And it's like, I would have loved to have learned this 10 years ago. But of course, it doesn't work that way. If you get an anxiety diagnosis, you're not allowed to have medical care, apparently. But, yeah, my saltiness about that aside, I was very happy to hear that. So I'm actually going to a vestibular clinic coming up, and we're going to figure out what to do from there. It's probably not going to require much treatment. Probably not much I can do about it. Like, there is surgical options for this type of thing, but it would require, opening up the side of my skull a little bit and going in and moving a bit of my brain to the side and then moving the blood vessel, which, honestly, I would be totally okay with. Like, the only complications really that can arise from it is potential hearing loss on the one side if they, like, nick the nerve. And honestly, I don't care. I was actually looking at vestibular nerve resection or sections, which was an operation where they go in and they actually cut the vestibular nerve and try not to damage the cochlear nerve. And that basically makes it so you no longer get vestibular like balance signals to your brain. And I was actually looking at that and thinking, man, I wish I could get that, because I don't care if I lose hearing in one of my ears. I just want the dizziness to go away. So if it does turn out that I need surgery to move it, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's do it. I'm totally okay with that. I honestly do not care if it... I feel like we're going the wrong way. I guess not. It's like, I really do not care if it results in reduced or loss of hearing in my right ear, because it's just, when you've lived your entire life not knowing what it feels like to not have vertigo, like, the room has always been moving for me. Like, there's never been a moment in my life where the room has not been moving. The option to, like, get rid of that, even at the cost of losing, like, hearing or something, it's like, it's a completely easy answer. It's like, yeah, do it. Like, I really don't care. I can survive with diminished hearing in one ear, but the vertigo is very difficult to live with. All right. So I'm excited about that. That's fun. See, if I don't have a like direction for these videos, I just talk about random medical stuff because it's interesting to me. This way, people need to like recommend me to go to places and talk about things, because when I'm left to my own devices, I'll just ramble on about nothing. Where are we here? Oh wow, that's a... Wait. Wait. Oh, it's the planet that has life. I was like, does the asteroid have life? That really confused me for a second. I would love to find an asteroid with life. Wow, that is a thick atmosphere. Just how thick is it though? 86.4 atmospheres. That is a thick atmosphere. That's a little bit thinner than like that's pretty close to a Venus, which is like 90 atmospheres. That's impressive. Mostly nitrogen, water, and oxygen. Multicellular aerial. So there's flying critters on this here planet. That is an interesting notion. Um, we have crashed on the planet, and I have no idea where I am now. Oh, there we go. Right. Um, Man, I wish I could see life. I want like No Man's Sky esque, random generation of life, but not No Man's Sky. I hate No Man's Sky. I did a poll. I need to actually start playing a game or do a few recordings of it one of these days because I did a poll of games I can play, and No Man's Sky won. But I hate No Man's Sky so much. Yeah, it disappoints me as a game, and people are like, oh, but it's so much better now. It's like they've just added base building and town management, things that I do not want in a space game. And even barring that, the galaxy No Man's Sky is way too crowded. You do not feel like an explorer at all in that game. Everywhere you go, like literally everywhere, every planet, every like 10 kilometers on every planet, you find outposts and you find colonies and there's ships flying overhead. They're all NPCs, but the galaxy feels horrifically crowded. Every planet has sentinels, every planet has trading outposts, every system has a space station in it. The game is made to be what do you call it? Like a system management system. It's basically an Excel spreadsheet, the game in space. So it's set up not to be an exploration game. No. It's set up to be an economy like spreadsheet game where you have to keep constantly refueling your ship, refueling your suit, refueling your energy, selling things, buying things, building bases for some stupid reason. It's like, I want a game where I go and explore the galaxy. I do not want a game where I set up a colony on a planet and then, like, negotiate between domestic squabbles while trying to constantly keep my suit refilled so I don't die. That's just me, though. So I personally hate No Man's Sky. But I need to play it because I said I would. And I really don't want to. But I have to. So I'm going to. But not right this moment. Until then, Space Engine. Love it. It's a good game. Is there any space news I can cover before I end this video? I mean, China space station's coming together. That's kind of cool. James Webb's still doing good. That's kind of cool. I saw a mock-up of the rocket that's going to be used to launch samples from Mars into Martian orbit. That's pretty cool. Lockheed Martin, I think, is building that one. Arca Aerospace is up to their old ways again. But let's just not talk about Arca Aerospace. What else is new? Russia wants to pull out of the space station, but they keep saying that. It's a fairly empty threat at this point. It's kind of like whenever Putin makes nuclear threats, there's no actual power behind it. Like, literally, every time he makes a nuclear threat, my thing is, well, alright, let's look at actual deployments and the ramifications of this. And there never is any. Like, back in the day, Cold War I'm talking about, when the Soviet Union or America made a nuclear threat, they always backed it up. It's like Russia or the Soviet Union would be like, if you don't do X, then we're going to move, or then we're going to do Y. And then the next day, you'd be like, oh yeah, NORAD like NATO and NORAD detected, like, troop movements over here, and they weapons relocations here, and there was missile sites put there, and there's clear like escalation in their like bomber forces. Like, there was always something. When America makes a threat, they don't actually do them very often anymore, which is good. They move things. They move their THAAD nuclear or their missile sites. They shuffle troops around the border. They fly bombers through the Straits of Tibet. Like, they actually do things. When China makes threats, same thing. They move ships. They move bombers. They move people. They move missile sites. When Russia makes threats these days, nothing happens. Like, Putin would be like, oh yeah, we're putting our forces on a special, quote unquote, special form of alert. And it's like, ooh, that sounds scary. And everyone in the media was like, ooh, Russia's gonna like start World War III, we're all gonna die. And then I'm like, what does NORAD have to say about this? And NORAD's like, nothing. What does NATO have to say? NATO's like, nothing. There's been no like seriously, there was no like after they said that, there was no change in missile posture, there was no change in deployments, there was no actual activity amongst their like anything. It's like this special alert, if it was a real thing, must have just been someone with like a post-it note saying, oh yeah, here's a memo, we're on a special alert, but nothing changed. No missile sites were activated, no missiles were moved, no troops were moved, no airplanes were put up, nothing. And this keeps happening. Every time they make a threat, nothing happens of it. So my thing, if people are like, oh no, we're all going to see the world's going to end because Russia keeps making threats. It's like, Russia is not a nuclear threat. If they were, they would actually be acting like a nuclear threat, but they're not. It's annoying. The only upside to it is whenever they do make a nuclear threat, my videos get a whole bunch of views and I make money off of it. That's like literally the only upside to it. Beyond that, it's just annoying. Organic unicellular terrestrial. That's nice. I read a thing, not saw, well, I saw it, it was an article, but it was like Russian soldiers in the 90s after the Soviet Union collapsed, and there was like Americans touring a missile site there, and apparently, again, I can't confirm this because I wasn't there, this is like an article from the 90s, but apparently they noticed that the ICBM in the silo was just rusted, and the clamps were rusted closed, and the Russian soldiers there were joking with the American journalists and made the comment where it's like, if we wanted to attack you, we couldn't because their stuff was all just dilapidated. And I always think about that because to maintain nuclear forces requires a lot of money. Like, you need a ton of money to like maintain this. America's budget for maintaining just their nuclear forces that they have on standby is billions of dollars every year, because you have to make sure that the bombs themselves are in good working order. You have to replace parts. You have to make sure the missiles are in good condition. You have to test parts. You have to do diagnostics. You have to make sure that every moving part related to your system is good to go, and that costs money. Whereas Russia's military is dilapidated to hell because they don't get money. Most of their military money is siphoned off to oligarchs who buy yachts with it, so their military has like no money. And their conventional missiles have like a failure rate of like 60 to 70%. And that makes me wonder if their actual forces have to buy like Wish.com tires for their military vehicles, and their tanks have to use spare parts from scrap heaps, and their missiles have a 60% failure rate. It's like, how many of their nuclear weapons actually work? And I'd be willing to bet money that most of them don't. Like, they probably have the bombs, but their missiles, most of them probably don't work. And most of the actual bombs themselves are probably past their expiration date. They surely have enough to cause problems because they have like 1,400 of them, but I would bet money that if you were to index every single Russian nuclear weapon, most of them would be in a non-deployable state right now because they just do not pay to upkeep their military. So, again, I am no expert, but whenever people complain about nuclear threats and Russia's gonna come and get us, it's like, stop and think about it for a moment. Whenever Putin makes a nuclear threat, what actually changes? Nothing. And he makes them all the time. I think since 2014, he has made at least 3 nuclear threats every year. And it's like, you don't do that unless you're trying to overcompensate for something. It's like, you don't continuously make nuclear threats unless you know that your bombs aren't working and you're just trying to make everyone think that you have a weapon. It's like constantly saying, oh, I have a gun, and it's like, do you have a gun? no, I don't actually have a gun. That's literally what it is. So it's like I do not take Russia's threats seriously at all. It's like I'll keep an eye on them, but they don't concern me because it's like it's no. It's a declawed cat threatening to scratch you. It's so stupid. Anyways, that's 25 minutes. That's 5 minutes of my rants about No Man's Sky and Russian military policy. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment below. Tell me where you want me to go or things to talk about. I am good to talk about literally anything. So, until then, thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful evening, morning, day, night, whenever you're watching this, and space.